Joey Logano has addressed the beef he has with Ty Gibbs following their altercation after the race at the Clash at the Coliseum. Before we get to this, I'd like to ask you, please hit that subscribe button, hit that bell for notifications so you don't miss any of our future videos here at John Trent Racing. Before we get to what Joey Logano had to say, let's kind of go over what exactly happened at the Clash at the Coliseum with about 10 laps to go. And I think this is where Joey Logano was upset at Ty Gibbs. We had a restart and Ty Gibbs decided to move Joey Logano up the track, pushing him into basically the outside wall and forcing him to fall back to around 5th or 6th. Let's take a look at this here as they're going into the first turn. Obviously, Ty Gibbs in that black and green number 54 in the lead, and Joey Logano in the yellow number 22 on the outside. So looks like Ty really overdrove the corner, and then he doesn't really even turn the car until they're already I don't know, over halfway through the corner. You can see just there started turning the corner. And because he overdrove it, that really pushed Joey all the way up to the top of the track and shuffled him back. And there, Joey really doesn't have anywhere to recover. He's back into 6th there, right? So, and I think that is where Joey Logano was upset at Ty Gibbs. And that is why he decided to approach him here after the race at Ty Gibbs's holler. Let's take a look here. This is Michael Massey. So that was really interesting. You see Joey kind of coming over, and Ty turns around and it looks like he's waving to him to like, come on, let's talk about it in the holler. And then Joey just kind of like grabs him and starts giving him a mouthful there, or an earful, I guess. I'm just going to jump ahead here real quick because it's really hard to tell what they say, but I do think we get a couple, we can hear them at the end here where they're starting. It's like right here, I think. So obviously some words being exchanged there. Joey clearly saying he's not happy because he was driven all the way up into the wall. Ty saying like, hey, you've done this to me before. There's nothing really different there. And then Joey saying, I'll remember this. And then they kind of are trying to basically try and one up each other on the insults there, I guess, a little bit. After that altercation, we had this from Ty Gibbs speaking with Bob Pockris.
Just mad that I ran him up, but if you go back and look at the replay at 12, kind of chucks him out of the way too. So it just, it's a hard race at the end. This place is really hard to get your tires warm once the caution comes out, as we all see everybody sliding around. So I just got in there deep and washed up in them, and then we just kind of got all tangled up after that. So he just came in never and said that to me in a bunch of different words, but I knew it happened.
So that is what Ty Gibbs had to say. Now, this is what Joey Logano had to say. I actually think Ty Gibbs is kind of what he said there is what happened. He obviously drove it in deep, washed up, and Joey was the victim of that. I'm not sure if he did it on purpose or not. Hard to say there. I mean, he is second year in NASCAR. It's possible that he made a mistake, and Joey Logano happened to be the victim of that mistake. Or it's possible that he saw Logano. He already had seen Logano kind of beat him on the restart, pinched him down early on, and was able to get around him. And he thought Logano was going to be a big threat out there on the outside and wanted to ensure that that threat would be disposed of. So he did that on purpose to push him up to the outside and send him backwards. But I'm going to go on the fact that he drove in deep to try and push Joey to the outside. That's probably going to be what I would have to say that's happened there. But let's listen to what Joey had to say about the beef that he has with Ty Gibbs here.
Ty and I have raced pretty hard with each other, since last year. And we tried to have a talk to where like, okay, we're going to start at 0. And then there was 3 weeks in a row where he was completely using me up. I had enough, right? You can only poke the bear so many times before the bear bites you. And I had enough. And in Martinsville, I showed him I had enough. He came over to, called me afterwards, which I was.
So just to be clear, at Martinsville, Joey Logano decided to absolutely just dump Ty Gibbs, spin him out. And Ty Gibbs tried to get him back later on in the race, but did not do so well. And Joey was able to fend that off.
Expected that. We had a conversation. He came to my place and we talked for 30 minutes. And I thought, man, that was pretty cool. He was very humble. We had a good conversation about it. And I thought, man, I've been through a lot of this stuff before when I was like him, right? So I could see a lot of myself in Ty. Like I get a lot of it. And I thought, man, if I talked to Kevin that way or I talked to Tony in that way, gosh, that would have been great, like to have that. So I was open, like, you know what, I've been through this before. Let me see if I can help the situation out. So we left and, we shook hands and, okay, here's how we're going to do it. We're going to respect each other on the racetrack. We're going to respect each other. And only for the first opportunity for us to race each other since that conversation to get completely used up on the restart. I get it. It's 10 laps to go in the clash, and we're going to be aggressive with each other. I get that. But to completely use me up into the fence, not going to be okay with me. So obviously I'm mad about that. And at that point, I wanted to make sure he knew I was pretty upset about that, and that's not acceptable. Now, where do we go from here? I don't know. I don't know. We had a conversation. He said all the right things. His words don't mean nothing to me anymore. So I'm not going to talk to him. But I don't really know the next thing to do. The kid's talented. He's fast. I'm going to have to.
So that is what Joey Logano had to say there. He would provide some more commentary here as well. Let's listen to this.
Like I said, I see a lot of myself in Ty. When I was young, I was doing a lot of the same things. But I also learned my lesson. And I completely understand it now, which we're just not there yet. I want to work it out. I'm being clear. I don't want to be in a pissing match with this guy. But I'm also not going to get pushed around. And I'm sure he's saying the same thing. He's not going to get pushed around, but he's doing the pushing right now. And eventually you get bit back. It's how our sport works. It's self-policing. It's an eye for an eye. That's how it works. And like I said, first offense in this situation, I'm probably not even saying a word about it because I'm like, oh, that's probably something I would probably do. I'm not, going to do that. But there was a restart where, I started underneath him early on the second stage there. I didn't wash him up. I wrapped the corner and he beat me on the top. He fired off faster than me. I thought we were starting at 0 and I respected him not to run him up the track. Okay. So just it is what it is.
So it is what it is what Joey Logano concludes. I don't think it is what it is. I think he made it very clear there in both of those, in that kind of long-winded answer there, that he is going to be looking to pay back Ty Gibbs again for that, as he paid him back at Martinsville. So until Ty Gibbs learns the lesson that he wants to teach him, I think Logano was pretty clear there. It's not really, it is what it is, right? So we'll see what happens. Obviously, their feud goes back to last year. Obviously, Ty is the kind of young upstart, and he is really good. So we'll see what happens here between him and Joey Logano moving forward, because Logano is kind of one of the veterans of the sport now. It's kind of weird to think that, but he indeed is one of the veterans of the sport, and he's maybe trying to keep Ty Gibbs in check. I do think that he was right to be upset, but at the same time, I mean, it is the clash at the Coliseum. That's kind of how that racing goes. You do get kind of used up all the time, and you are looking at 10 laps to go. So, I don't know, maybe you got to take that into a little bit of perspective, but it'll be interesting to see if this rivalry pans out, if they'll even be racing around each other this year. Maybe it looks like they might be. So we'll see what happens. But that's what Joey Logano had to say. We heard what Ty Gibbs had to say. We saw what happened. It seems like they're just kind of complaining because of the format of the race and how it works with the clash, the flat track, short track. and you're beating and banging, and that stuff just happens. And I don't know. For me, that's just kind of like, hey, this is short track racing. This is going to happen. You know it's going to happen. And it wasn't Ty Gibbs, but it could have been someone else. And probably any of the other drivers probably would have done something very similar. So I don't know. It really almost kind of seems like it's a little bit fake drama to me, to try and get interest heading into Daytona. But let me know what you guys make of this. Let me know in the comments below.